The following is a production of cprundown.com. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts of this podcast are those of the individual and not of any affiliated companies. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rundown on Fun, a weekly podcast covering the Six Flags Entertainment Corporation, the amusement industry, and everything to do with fun. Here are your hosts, Karsten Anderson, Evan Schultz, and Kyle Hu.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Rundown on Fun, a weekly podcast where we cover Cedar Point, the Six Flags Entertainment Corporation, and everything to do with fun. And guys...
Look at that.
Oh, go ahead.
Look at that.
Yeah.
No, look at that.
No, I need to hear what Kyle has to say. I think
what?
he has a special announcement of sorts.
Yeah, so, Cedar Point opened this weekend.
It sure did. Evan and I know we're pumped and we're going to go opening day, but dun dun dun. You want to tell our listeners what happened?
If anybody was at the group photo, you might have seen me. You might not have known it was me, but if you heard me talk, you might have recognized my voice. I made a surprise trip just for opening weekend. Once the park and Tony sent out that Top Throw 2 is going to be open, I started looking into it. I'm like, should I go? Should I not go? I'm going to be there for Mania.
The weather looks like poop.
I was like, the weather looks like poop. I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to do it. Maybe some year, but not this year. And then I was at work on Thursday. And I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. Let's go. Let's book this. So I booked my flights, and then you guys recorded last week. And I made up an excuse as to why I couldn't record. I was like, guys, I just can't do it tonight. I'm busy. I'm XYZ.
Got a work thing going on.
And then I snuck over to Orlando International Airport, and I flew to rainy and cold Cleveland, Ohio. Shout out to Dean and Abby, because a big part of this, a big reason that this trip was able to work was because Dean's sister Izzy was graduating college this weekend at Bowling Green State University. Congratulations, Izzy. No, you won't listen, but congratulations.
Congrats.
So I was able to hitch a ride from Cleveland to Bowling Green, and then friend of the show, Jared, who lives in my parents' hometown, works in Bowling Green, so he was able to shuttle me from Bowling Green to Tiffin to surprise my parents, and then that was Friday. And then Saturday, I very quietly drove up to the park. I didn't tell anybody. I was texting in a group chat. I was like, oh, have a great opening day, everybody. Wish I could be there, but, I'm at work.
And I even responded, no, you don't, as I'm walking into the park in the pouring rain. You son of a...
And then me and Karsten, we share our locations with each other, but I had turned mine off. That way, if he was looking, he wouldn't see where I was. But so I tracked him in the park, and I saw that he was over by Sirens Curse. So I went over there, and then I shouted at him and made a fool of myself.
I was like, who's yelling? And then all of a sudden I just saw you. I was like, holy okay.
And then a few minutes later, Evan, I ran into you, and you had the same reaction.
My jaw actually dropped.
Let me.
I wasn't expecting it. Not expecting it.
Yeah. Let me start off by saying that it was miserable weather for me, especially as a Floridian. Absolutely miserable. I had made up in my head that I was going to carry an umbrella. I got out of the car, and I had not even made it 15 feet from the car before the wind took my umbrella and turned it inside out. I was like, you know what? That's just not going to happen today. Yep, back to the car.
Yeah, like maybe I should just go home. Maybe I should.
I was going to say at that point, maybe you should have just flown home.
Yeah, right? No one.
Screw this.
At that point,
it's not going to open.
At that point, nobody knew I was there. So I could have very easily turned around.
Just ate the $100 and gone home.
Yeah, you really could have, and no one would have ever known.
Well, I didn't want to because I saw Top Throw 2 cycle when I was driving down the Midway.
Ooh.
And then, don't know, I know I told you guys this. I'll repeat it again for the podcast. I don't know if I was supposed to get early entry or not, but I did. I have a gold.
Not like anything was open.
Yeah, I have a Cedar Point Gold Pass. And the front gate, on their big electronic sign, they have the arrows pointing to which line you should get in, depending on if you have a prestige pass, a gold pass, a one-day ticket, whatever. The gold pass line, they were not letting people in. It just was not moving. But prestige, there was no line. because they all get early entry. And I was like, well, I'm just going to go over to Prestige and see what happens. And you know what? I scanned my pass, and they were like, "You're good. Have a great day." And I said, "Thank you very much." And I walked in.
Nice. It's opening day. They might not even have known.
Yeah.
You know,
not that early entry really got me that much of a benefit this day because of the weather. Before we go into the shenanigans of the day, I want to give a huge shout out to Cedar Point. I've been to a lot of opening days. Obviously, I've missed the last few, but I've been to a lot of opening days. Mm-hmm. This felt like the most prepared the park has been in years. Mm-hmm. Years. Yeah,
I agree. Wholeheartedly agree.
They were ready to go, no pun intended. I mean, like it was just the weather absolutely did not cooperate. But there were things that were open that I was like, that shouldn't be open. Like specifically the Sky Ride. It was windy and rainy, and I was freezing. My hands were numb, and I looked over, and there's people in the Sky Ride. I was like, all right, that's cool.
You do you.
Yeah. But just big shout out to the park. I know what a big undertaking it is to get that park ready and open for the season. And there's been some opening days where it did not seem like they were ready, but this was not one of them. They were on it this year.
Like foods, of course I go to food, but like food service comes to mind. Like, cause you got 3 meals. I got 2.
I did.
It seemed like midsummer. Like Farmhouse and Grand Pavilion and Backbeat, they were pumping people through those lines like it was midsummer, like it was a well-oiled machine. And it's like, guys, it's opening day. You're allowed to be kind of crappy today. Like,
and they're flying.
Like, I was so impressed, and like just the rides and everything. Not that I was riding Magnum in the freezing sleet, but people were.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely agreed with everything Kyle said on that. It really sucks because like Kyle said, it was the most ready that they've been, and the weather was just like, nah, gotta knock you down.
The weather was definitely not ready to go, and I know a lot of the listeners who have listened, they heard Evan and I gush, last opening day, when we rode Top Thrill 2 and stuff, and was like, oh my gosh, this could be maybe my number 1 coaster. I don't know.
And then I didn't ride it again for another year.
Right. But with all of that crappy weather and everything, now I want to know, were we able to ride Top Thrill 2? Like, everybody's kind of just sitting on their seat because you get, the weather was absolutely crappy. Things weren't running. Skyride was running, that was a shocker. But yeah, so Kyle, tell us what
happened with Top Thrill 2.
Well, before we get into Top Thrill 2, I have to talk about the other ride I rode that day, the Cedar Point and Lake Erie Railroad.
Hey, yeah,
they were running great. We got like a lap and a half on the Cedar Point Lake Erie Railroad in the freezing cold. When we say
the weather was really crappy, it was monsooning rain for a long period of time, and we knew that this was going to happen. But we also saw that there was like a low that pretty much just stalled like right around Ohio, and it would move ever so slightly like east in Ohio. And if it would move just a little east, the line of showers would move with it. Well, it literally kind of just stayed there. And literally we kept checking every single hour. We'd be like, okay, the rain's going to stop at 3. Okay, the rain's going to stop at 3:30. Okay, the rain's going to stop at 4:35. And it just kept pushing it back. And so, yeah, it was just, I don't think this day was going to happen.
So we rode the only covered ride in the park.
Yeah, the train.
Cedar Point and Lake Erie Railroad.
Stuff got painted. Like Bonesville got like all brand new paint and stuff. Looks nice and shiny, and
it does.
And pretty.
Just, I thought it was funny. You guys, I mean, obviously you were both cold too, but you were both sitting there having a great time. Oh, this is great. And I was like bundled up, shivering.
Speak for yourself, bud.
You were like, we're getting off here, right? And I'm like, no, let's go around one more time. I want to see Millennium Force, like the hill and stuff, and see if they have the lights plugged in. You're like,
I was about ready to go sit in my car, but I wasn't going to get up on my own. So
yeah.
But to break everybody's suspense, I did get to ride Top Thrill 2. I got 2 laps on it on opening day. Yeah,
visits the charm.
Yeah, so it, like Carson was saying, it really did not stop raining until about 4. And Evan, at this point, you had left to go get Maya at the front gate.
I have a story about that too, but
And
tell your bit.
I was with Karsten, and at this point, Jared had joined us. It was late enough in the day that Jared was there. And we were at the quick service food beverage stand over by Magnum. I don't know the name of it. Do either of you?
Pretzel fillers?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds right. And Karsten...
I was getting some hot chocolate with my with my Drink Plus Max Ultra plan.
And I have to preface this by saying the entire day I was just rubbernecking Top Throw 2, looking for any signs of life whatsoever. Anything. Just a train transferring on, a train transferring off, lights, like any little thing. So Jared and Karsten were getting hot chocolate. And Jared, he had just gotten here, and he was like, you know what? I want to go look at Sirens Curse. I was like, okay, we're not riding anything. Let's go look at Sirens Curse. And I was facing the Top Thrill 2 station, and I didn't even put words together. I just pointed, and I was like, look, there!
You did, yeah.
And we saw...
and Jared and I were like, what's wrong? Are you okay? Like, what? Go, it's testing.
And we saw Blue Train barreling down the track, and we took off running and jumped in line. So we got to witness the entire opening procedures, all of the regular test cycles, the block test cycles. They watched them verify launches, everything. And it probably took them, a good hour to work through that opening checklist?
I'd say so, yeah.
Something like that.
It got to the point where they were sending them. They tested each train 3 times, and we're like, okay, we have to be getting close. Yeah. And finally, after each train had cycled 3 times, we just sat there for like 15 minutes. Nothing happened. And these trains were just barely making it over the top hat, but we knew it was to a point where it was warmed up, and if we load bodies in the train, we'll clear the top hat, and as long as we keep cycling, we'll be good. And they let it sit for like 15 minutes. We had enough time. They let us in the corral. We put our stuff in a locker, and we were almost to the metal detectors. And they shoot the first public train of the day, and it's a rollback.
Like a real
like
one.
a true rollback, like an actual rollback.
Like Dragster's back, baby.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they pulled the train back, they reset, they shoot it again, and it's another rollback.
Yep.
Just one more. So they pulled
the most Dragster shit.
I'm not even gonna lie. When this was happening, literally, we were still in the crowd, and the crowd was all watching, and everyone was like oohing and ahhing. It was like
I thought it was 2010.
It was the old Top Thrill dragster always praying to God that would make it over the top hat, and literally, like everybody's got their hands in the air and spirit fingers and going like, oh, just saying anything and everything. Just everybody blow.
It reminded me.
My gosh,
Karsten, it reminded me of the last lap at Daytona when everyone's got their hands up and they're throwing their arms like go, and everybody's got their ball caps off and they're waving them and cheering.
It's
like
crazy.
Yes.
An
old dragster would not have had a chance in hell of operating on this day. Not one. Not one. But anyway.
They would have even put the trains on the track.
So second attempt ends in a rollback. They pull back, reset one more time, and then finally they just barely squeak over the top hat. Those people were loving it. They got 3 rides for the price of 1.
Yep.
And then as soon as they hit the finish line, the station, attention riders, we're experiencing a brief delay in operations. We're like, oh no. We're like, no, don't tell us that this thing's down. Keep trying. So they pulled each train onto the launch track, and they cycled each train. Had to have been at least 10 times each.
Yeah.
At least 10 times each. I mean, they were cycling trains for at least a good hour, if not maybe an hour and a half. And it got to the point where they were just clearing the top hat, no problem. We're like, open, please open.
Yeah.
And
finally, they reopen. They load it with the train of riders. Everybody's got their spirit fingers out. Everyone's pumping their fists. And finally, it just blows over the top hat. And thunderous cheers erupted from that midway. People were high-fiving.
It really took me back.
People were high-fiving each other. People were hugging, cheering, fist pump in the air.
Yep.
And you would have... I'm not going to say what I was going to think. I'll tell you guys after we're done. But anyway, so then we we go through the metal detectors, we get in line, and I got my first ride on Top Thrill 2 on, was it Blue Train or Black Train?
It was black.
Black. It was Black.
Because there's a story with even that part, right? Because we get in the station. I've never even ridden the silver train, even though I've ridden the thing 15 times. And it looks like we're going to get silver. And then there's a broken seat in one of the rows that our group had. It's like, okay, well, that sucks. All right, well, the next train's blue. We're going to get on blue. We're going to get on this thing. They put handicapped riders in our spot, so we didn't get on that train. I'm like, this thing, it's going to break. We're not going to get on this. One of those two, because I had so many times on Dragster, right, where for XYZ reason, the train I was about to get on, I didn't get on. Seat broken, ADA, whatever. No offense to anybody, but that's, shit happens. I'm like, it's going to break. It's going to freaking break. But no, we got on Black. And
I was getting
okay.
I was getting mad at you too, because you kept saying, "Oh my God, it's gonna break. We're not gonna go on." And I was like, "Dude,
like I've been around the block enough times."
I was like, "Don't even say that, man. I traveled thousands of miles. I've been standing out in the cold all day. Don't even say that."
And I'm in the station. I am watching it with people. That would have been.
But you know what? I did get on Top Thrill too, and obviously, I do not have anything to compare it to versus last year. Maybe you guys can talk more about that in a minute. But what an out-of-body experience that ride is.
Oh my God, I mean, that's an understatement.
Even the first, I trust me, I had plenty of time to analyze the ride while I was standing on the midway. And, I kept watching that first launch. I was like, oh, it looks fun, but it doesn't really look like much. I felt that first launch way more than I thought I would. And then we made it, halfway up the tower, rolled back, and we hit that 100-mile-an-hour backwards launch. Bonkers, man. Bonkers.
Oh my
That's
God.
all I can say. Insanity. I remember you guys talking last year about one of the coolest things about that ride was looking down on Power Tower. So I made sure, after we, came to a gentle halt up on that spike, I made sure to look over at Power Tower. And gee, you weren't kidding, man. You looked down on Power Tower, and what a trippy experience that is.
See Power Tower too.
Yeah. And then, obviously on the way back down the top hat, then you get bumped up to 120. And I guess one thing I never put two and two together is, on old Dragster, obviously you had that super intense punch, but, you really didn't hit 120 until you were at about the base of the top hat, But to be sustained at 120 all the way down the launch track is just insanity. I mean, there are no other words that I can use to describe that except insanity.
And it's smooth, it's not bad.
You know what? I didn't think there was any shimmy. I didn't think it was rough at all. I thought, like I said, maybe you guys can talk more about that in a minute. But, man, did it feel good to go over that top hat again. I had not been on Dragster since very early season 2021 when I was an employee at the park, and we had a Top Thrill Dragster quote unquote ride night, but it was during it was super early season, and it was on one of the days. Remember in 2021 when the park was closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays?
Yeah.
It was a Tuesday. So quote unquote ride night started at 3 p.m. It was
oh my God,
it was that
must have been a blast.
Yeah, it was that early of the season. So I have not been on this thing in 4 years, and man, was I giggling like a fool flying over that top hat once again. Oh my God, I'm so glad I made this trip. If I had not have gotten on Top Thrill 2, you all would be hearing a much different version of this podcast right now. I'll tell you that much.
Kyle would have sat this week out, but he's busy just because he's just angry.
But
X-rated podcast.
Man,
that's when we start our Patreon.
Man,
if you want to really know what Kyle thought.
Yeah, because at this point, at this point, it was what? But when we got off the ride, it was 6, and I'd been at the park since 9:15, and that was the first real ride we did.
Yep.
But anyway. And then we did ride again. We jumped in the fast lane line right at the end of the night.
Yep.
One of those
shout out the Prestige fast lanes.
Yeah, free Prestige fast lanes, or if you wanted to buy a one-time fast lane for that attraction on opening day, it was $35.
Yep.
And this kind of goes back to the whole opening day thing, Evan. I know you didn't partake in that ride with us, and this is where opening day is going to opening day. the regular line cleared out the queue before we made it up to the platform.
How does that? Huh?
We were fast lane, and the whole time we were, like neck and neck with the standby queue, and then eventually they all made the turn and cleared out, and we weren't even up to the platform yet. So the last ride of the night, which was us, by the way, we were last ride of the night. Was full of fast lane guests. The general queue had been cleared and empty.
Tell the grouper, hey, fast lane is on the right, but regular's on the left, not the other way around.
Yeah, but you know what? That'll work itself out. And then I got my first night ride on Top Thrill 2, and for that ride, first ride I rode with Karsten. Second ride I rode with Justin, and since the first ride I looked over at Power Tower. Second ride I looked over at Millennium, and both were similar out of body experiences. The only negative thing I have to say about the night ride was I really do not care for that spotlight that they shine up on the spike. It was a little too bright for me. Other than that, it was great.
I don't even remember that.
I do, yeah.
It was also not funny. It was interesting to see the maintenance guys that were just watching this thing like a hawk up right outside the control booth. Yes. The ride would launch, and you could see their heads. They would track it all the way up the top hat, and that would roll back, and they would physically turn around, track it all the way up the spike, and then they'd physically turn around again and track it up and over the top hat for every single cycle. I thought that was interesting.
And that was the whole time we were in line too. It wasn't just like, a few trains. Like that's what
it was until the last cycle was back in the station. They had a maintenance
that ride
associate
is a
out
spectacle.
There. Yeah. And you know what? Sure. I have to hand it to Cedar Point too. Once the ride did open, I think it really only went down for mechanical once?
For 15 minutes too. It wasn't like it was a...
Yeah, it really did not have that many issues at all. Yeah, I mean, I've just talked for a while, so I'm going to take a breather and I'm going to let you guys talk. But I'll answer questions. I'll jump back in. I would like to talk about Millennium Force at some point too, but...
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about... I wanted
to mention my little bit of shenanigans with when that ride actually got open. Because, like Kyle said, I was... we had done the group photo at 3:00, which shout out to everybody that showed up, especially because of the crappy weather. So we did the group photo at 3, in front of Sirens Curse, and my girlfriend had just showed up. So I'm like, I'm gonna go meet her at the front. So I'm walking up to the front, and like Kyle said, rubbernecking Top Thrill the entire time. I am every 3 steps. If I wasn't about to run into somebody, I turned around what's it doing? Is it gonna move? Because the rain was starting to lighten up. Mm-hmm. So I think she went to the bathroom up front, and I was kind of messing around the Skyride gift shop, and again I keep looking. All right, I'm done in the Skyride gift shop. I'll meet her halfway in between. And as I'm approaching, I greet her, and we start walking. She goes, "Oh, I saw Top Thrill Test." I'm like, "No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. There's no chance you saw Top Thrill Test. I was watching that." Not to sound like a bad person, but I'm like, you don't know you didn't know what you were looking at.
Evan,
you were seeing Valraven.
Evan was also used to The Boy Who Cried Wolf because Karsten the entire day goes, "Oh my God, Sirens Curse is tilting, guys! Look."
Yeah, so I'm just naturally skeptical of everything.
But do you know I didn't screw around with Top Thrill 2 testing. I never said one word about no, just Sirens Curse.
Well, I was used to shenanigans, so I'm like, no, you're wrong. You saw Valraven. I was being a complete idiot.
Yeah.
And then I look at my phone. Missed call from Kyle Huth. I'm like, why did he call me? So I call him back. "You better get over here. Trains are moving." I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
So no, she did see it. I was completely in the wrong. And we went running over there
as soon as
them in line.
As soon as it started testing, we Karsten, Jared, and myself took off sprinting for the queue line. Karsten spilled half his hot chocolate on the run.
I did. My hand has 2nd-degree burns. It's
but
fine.
As we were
dragster all over again.
As we were running, I was like, "Siri, call Evan, hurry!"
And then I don't answer. On top of it, and you're like, "Well, screw this guy." I forget who I told this to. It was over text the next day, but I was kind of telling the story, and I'm like, man, You could take dragster out of the name, but you can't take the dragster out of the ride.
Right.
Because it was 2004 all over again, or 2003 all over again, just watching that stupid thing go up and over and praying.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But man, what a ride still. What a ride.
It is a great ride.
Maybe better than last year.
I want to say now, I didn't have any cool shenanigans except for spilling hot chocolate all over my hand trying to get over there. And pretty much doing the same thing you guys were doing, is kind of rubbernecking as well. Just, oh, is it open? Is it open? Is it open? Is it going to do something? Because the night before I stayed at Breakers, and literally it was like testing with employees in front of me all freaking night from like 7 until like 9 or something. And I was like, okay, all right. I'm like, well, looks like it got certified, even though the news said it wasn't going to get certified in time. But that's a different story for another day. Yeah. So I'm like, all right. So literally, I'm like asleep at Breakers, whatever, at 3:30 in the morning or so, and then all of a sudden I go and I'm like, holy crap, it's testing at 3:30 in the morning. I'm like, what is going on? So anyway, so I'm like, oh my gosh, it's still testing. So I'm like, that's great. That's great. That's good stuff, right? So yeah, and then the weather moved in and it was blah. But anyway, back to the ride. Holy crap! It's still holy freaking crap is the ride. Like it's so freaking good. What I did notice with it, it doesn't seem to like shimmy and shake as much on the trains. It feels like really tight to like whatever. Like my body wasn't walking down the launch track as
you didn't see the guardrails go whack, 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 whack.
Right. Yeah. So I wasn't shaking in the train. Everything felt like super smooth. Everything felt like super tight. The modified trains, they almost feel like they're chunky boys. Like they're very robust. Sturdy. Yeah. Robust, chunky, very like just ready to go. No pun intended. But oh my gosh. But seriously, like, I think, I don't know for sure. I mean, we don't know, but I would assume, since I'm sure they had like a million people, like I'm sure Zamperla tested it. I'm sure Cedar Point tested it. I'm sure they had a third party come in and test it. The state of Ohio came in and test it, and whoever else came and test it. I'm sure that like check. Yes, we fixed that. We fixed that. Yes, we saw what they were doing last year with launching trains. And when they were launching trains, they had all these crazy setups with the electronics like hooked up to different areas of the train and stuff. They're probably trying to figure out G-forces and forces on this and doing that and doing this and doing that. I feel like I'm just saying, like, at least currently right now, it's still early in the season. I don't want to like, blow smoke and then it just goes away again. But it feels like they kind of fixed whatever. And shout out to freaking Zamperla for sticking with it. And the freaking people that are like, oh, it's never going to open. It's not even going to open for opening day. Go stick one right in the craw, because holy freaking crap, man. They did They did. They really did. And so shut up, ride the dang ride now. Get that awesome experience like Kyle did, because Kyle, like, I'm not gonna lie, when I got to ride with Kyle, he was freaking mind blown. He's like, holy, what the, are you serious? And he's like going up the spike going, whoa, like just completely out of control, not knowing what was going on. And then we go over the top at like kind of like what Top Thrill Dragster was, and everything was pretty much normal, but he was just like, he was freaking out the most, especially when we were going backwards, because there's no other coaster that goes backwards like 100 miles an hour like that. Which is awesome.
You feel
like
every mile an hour of it in the best way possible.
Yeah. And then also moving a little bit towards what I did notice, what they, I guess, quote unquote, modified on Top Thrill 2 is obviously the trains got modified. It looks like they've got like different kind of like seating and stuff. It's not like the single stems where like one seat was by itself and another seat was by itself. Looks like they're almost like one seat is pretty much one row is pretty much combined with each other.
I'm not saying they copied Intamin, but I am saying the train looks almost identical to Velocicoaster.
Yeah, right. I mean, what isn't broken don't fix, right? And then it also looks like they lowered the seats just a smidge. This is just me. just us like just looking at stuff.
Am
and
I crazy, or was it stadium style before?
I thought it was stadium style, but I
like the second row, like the second row of
I-
each car was
I
a little
thought-
higher.
I remember seeing in pictures that it was stadium style last year.
And
Okay.
it's not anymore.
No,
Which
but
is
it
fine,
doesn't.
'cause
It
who
doesn't
cares?
affect anything. It really
it
doesn't
doesn't
affect
at all.
Yeah. What else? It looks like the wheel carriers or the bogies or whatever you want to call them, like those seem to be beefed up and stuff. But I mean,
The whole thing just seems more robust.
very, very beefed up and very like it looks like. And I mean, not that they were. I don't. I mean, we don't know for sure, but it looked like they were having like the trains were too light? ? So it looks like they put a lot of like stuff to just make the trains a lot heavier, to where they're and the ride is cooking. The ride is cooking. They're sending trains as soon as like it goes, boom. Train out the station. Train out the station. Train out the station.
Those operations were the best I've ever seen at Cedar Point, and that is. Frank, that is definitely saying something.
That opening day crew was one of the most efficient ride operation crews I have ever seen at any park anywhere. At
any point in the season.
Yeah, literally as soon as one train would crest the top hat, it would dispatch.
Let's go.
Boom, gone.
It was insane.
It was insane.
And then also, we did notice a little of these boxes. I noticed on the day before opening day when I was walking around outside the park, since the park was still closed. Anyway, these boxes are on the supports. One support when you go up the tower, one support you go down the tower. The original top hat, the original what Topful Dragster had. Well, I remember when Topful Dragster would launch, that support structure and everything would kind of wobble back and forth, right? And it would just
it was
wobble.
Safe. It was part of
Right.
People hear the track wobbling and oh my god.
Sorry. Yes. No, it was safe. Obviously, yes. It was 100% safe. It's supposed to do that. Yes. But it would only go over that portion one time, right? And it would be gone. The train would go over the top hat, would come down, next train would come after in a minute or something.
And it would
and you
stop.
would have that wobble pretty much stop, right?
Yeah, it would stop by the time the next train, by it reset and the time the next train was ready to launch.
Right. Well, I guess that box that we found out are dampeners or they dampen the wobble, I guess you could say, because you got to think, remember, I don't know if I told, or if I said this on the podcast, but the when the train goes in my head, and this could be super wrong and I really apologize, but in my head, there's like a wave in the actual train in the track. So when the train goes, there's a certain wave in the track and it's already starting to go just a smidge. And then literally you're going back towards the back tower and you've got that wobble in the track and it's starting to slow down just a little bit, but now you're up on the tower, the back tower, right? The spike, and the wobble's still kind of maybe just going a little bit and you're coming down off that spike and you're going again over that same section and it's literally like and wobbling back and forth and it's got that wave.
Rough.
Right. Yeah. So it's like it's shaking.
I feel like
itself.
we could say this now because the ride's open again and it's different and they fixed it. It was freaking rough. Okay. That ride was very rattly last year.
So the dampener pretty much I got to see it on one of the days that I was there after opening day. I got to see it literally work its magic. Literally, the train initially launches, and you could see it like wobble. And like the first launch, it's like real. You go halfway up the tower, and you're like, "Whoa!" And then as soon as the train goes backwards at 100 miles an hour, the wobble literally almost probably within like 3 or 4 seconds stops. It's boom, done. And then as soon as it goes back again, obviously you got more of a wobble because you've got like 120 miles an hour. So it's really going at it. Dude, I would say that probably within like 5 or 6 seconds, the wobble was pretty much null
by the time the next
existent.
train came.
Exactly. So you got rid of whatever the wobbleness and things like that.
Probably just less stress on the track and all that stuff.
I mean, you know what? They're like, why don't we add something like that because they use that in skyscrapers. I guess I found out that they also use it in different coasters overseas. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
More for earthquake reasons, but yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, why not? If you've got that technology and you've got that, why just keep adding.
And it's kind of, if you watch it, it's not like super advanced technology. It's pretty simple.
Pretty much just weights in the middle, cool. and yeah, so take a peek at that for sure. But shout out to Zamperla, shout out to Cedar Point. Shout out to Tony Clark and putting up with all the crazy.
Well, a lot of people think Tony is the one that runs the park, so good job fixing everything, Tony.
Mr. Fix It over there. But yeah. I
Tony
think that's,
did everything.
I'm a crazy great ride. Make sure you get on it. Everything looked pretty good. I've rode it. I got to ride it the other day. When it was foggy, I got to go up into the clouds, into the fog. That was really cool. You didn't get to see anything up there. The fog was like really, really high up there, so you didn't get to see blue skies and stuff. But that was fun.
Something I wanted to point out too. One last thing with Top Thrill is, I wasn't there Sunday. The weather was awful. Top Thrill never opened because of the weather. But then Monday the weather was better, so that was kind of in my mind, the litmus test for, okay, is this real? Like, did they actually fix it? And I wasn't at the park. I know, Karsten, you showed up later on at the park, but I was checking queue times all day, and Top Thrill was open all day, besides for just a little blip in the morning, it was closed. And maybe again a little later on in the evening, but it was like, it ran just as reliably as any other coaster in the park. Yeah. And it was, I'm sure they were cranking trains out like crazy. I think it got up to like an hour wait, 90-minute wait on the first Monday of the year. The park wasn't busy. So that was really, really good to see. Now, we're recording on Wednesday night. Parkway opens for the week tomorrow. This is where everything turned south last year. So let's cross our fingers and, hopefully tomorrow it's going to be a good weather day. It opens with the park and everything goes good. And then it opens again on Friday and Saturday and Sunday and Monday, and we just keep on going. I'm heavily knocking on wood, but I do think they got it. I think they figured it out. So, and I think I might have said this when this closed, but I'm like, 5 years from now, we're going to be like, hey, remember when Top Thrill never opened that first year? And then it'll just be a funny joke. And now we have Sirens Curse and Top Thrill to talk about this year.
Yeah.
Because man, Siren looks insane.
Kyle, do you have anything to add before we move on from Top Thrill 2?
The only thing I want to say is, I know I've said this like 3 other times in this show alone, but I don't have anything to compare it to last year since I never got on it. But I didn't really feel any sort of shimmy or shake or rattle or anything on the ride. I thought it was as smooth as it always is. And I know that you kept telling me in line, oh man, just wait until it's a hot day and it goes higher and it's running faster.
Yeah.
I'm already counting down the days until Coaster Mania. I cannot wait to get some more laps on that thing.
I think as we record, it's a
month.
Yesterday
right?
was 1 month.
Yeah.
So 1 month till Coaster Mania already.
Woohoo!
1 month until we get to see Kyle in person again. Woohoo!
I don't know. Is he going to surprise us again? Is he going to show up at Coaster Stock?
No. He's just going to randomly show up this Saturday and be like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And be like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Dude, I want to ride Top Thrill 2. I want to ride it in nice weather now."
No, I am not going to surprise anybody again, but I am going to have to come up with a new catchphrase, because last year, every single time I was at the park, my phrase was, I don't even believe this damn thing works. I've never seen it test. Well, I believe it works now.
Right, you got to see it test a lot in person before you finally got to ride.
So that
was definitely teasing you.
That's our whole, probably over half the show, Top Thrill 2 report. Do we want to hit on some other highlights of opening day?
Yeah, I can.
Where do we go?
I'll hit on some of that. Evan, how about you take the food stuff, and I will talk about
Shocker.
and then at the end we'll talk about Millennium Force and the ride that we finally got to ride.
Yeah, let's before we go any farther, let's thank everybody for coming to our opening day group photo.
Yeah, absolutely. That was I was not expecting a whole lot of people because it was really wet, cold, and just miserable windy, and everything. So yeah, definitely shout out to.
Definitely wasn't like record attendance, but man, people showed up.
And it was busy at Farmhouse. So I can't remember his name, but shout out to him that he was one of our listeners. Ross, that's it. Yeah. And because we literally got our food and we were like, well, we can't
There's
really
nowhere to sit
anywhere. So, okay. And then he's like, hey, because he saw us in the line and said hi to us. And we said hi back. And then I think he was by himself. And then so he had a whole table for 4. I literally was like, hey, you guys can come sit with us. So shout out to Ross. Like,
That
was
legitimately
awesome.
saved the day because I didn't
Yeah.
want to go sit out in the rain.
Yeah, we would have had to sit out in the rain for
Or
sure.
carry our food over to Miss Keats or
Yep.
something. Oh my
Uh,
God.
so yes, I'm just gonna throw out a bunch of this like kind of like rapid fire. I
Not like you
obviously
wrote anything to tell us about, so
right, yeah. So I got to stay the night before opening day at Hotel Breakers because I wanted to see the new improvements to the road and so on and so forth and everything. So literally you start down the normal road and things like that, and by the time you get over to almost where you would cross to go into the park where that entrance is, it literally veers off to the left, but not like crazy, but it just kind of turns to the left. There's a little stop and a crosswalk that you can like cross for like the people that at the marina and stuff. And then you continue onward, and then you literally just kind of drive all the way to the left, almost pretty much by the dock area and everything. They did a really good job. It is really clean looking and real nice. It looks like it's still kind of like under construction-ish. I know I did get to see Sirens Curse. That's still the parking lot that's inside of Sirens Curse area-ish. Looks like that still needs to be paved and stuff, so that's still under construction. The ride looks phenomenal. Literally, you just drive right by it. You're just like, whoa, this looks freaking awesome. We'll talk a little bit about Sirens Curse in a minute after the park updates that I saw. But yeah, so Sirens Curse, road's really, really nice. And yeah, so then maybe next episode we'll talk about like all the merchandise and things like that.
Yeah.
This will be like an hour and a half long episode. Continuing on, I got to see where Snake River Falls used to be and stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, it's got the water raised up just a smidge, and they've got a fountain that's like spraying where pretty much where the trough used to be for the boats for
the trough is still there. The trough
it is still there. Yeah.
That used to be.
I don't know. It to me it felt very tranquil and very
It's pretty.
They
made the water nice and blue.
Yeah, it's very nice and blue.
But also the thing we also noticed was, God, that's a lot of room.
Right. There is a lot of room for sure, especially when we were riding the train ride and we saw all the random
how many times did we go around there?
Yeah, we got to analyze it twice, everybody, so we would know. Yeah.
got to see the big old Christmas trees that they decided to plant there.
Yeah.
And then obviously, I walked down the midway a little bit, and the ripcord, I can't remember what it was named, but that's gone.
Frontier Fling.
That's gone, but what's weird is like literally it looks like they could plop it literally right back there, and literally it would be fine because they've got the
signs
exit gates, the signs are there, just everything is just kind of still there. So that weird. I'm thinking that they're not really touching any of this land, because I'm sure that this whatever they've got planned is probably in the budget to start messing with that land, and right now they don't have the budget to like mess with the land. So they're like, okay, once we decide to announce in, I don't know, 2030 or something, that's literally going to be the budget for moving dirt, getting rid of concrete, so on and so forth. And then real quick, shout out to the basketball, the 3-point basketball shoots and stuff. Those got all brand new like basketball backboards. Just have Cedar Point logos on them.
The long shots.
Yeah, the long shots. If anybody likes to do the climbing, what's that climbing tower or whatever it's called? They have that over by Millennium Force. They added a giant. Yeah. They added a giant oversized roof for it. And so now it looks like they don't have to shut down for like bad weather and rain and stuff or whatever, which will be really nice.
In the rain.
Yeah. And then obviously walking down the midway where Sirens Curse is, passing by the railroad tracks and stuff, and wow, is it just tower right over the freaking midway where it's just like you just see the end of the track and you're just like, holy crap. And Evan, I want you to go in a little bit of detail of Sirens Curse, because that's the first time you got to see it, because I got to see it at Winter Chill Out, and just like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like it's just insane for what they've got, and it's still under construction. They got a construction wall still going on. But Evan, what did you think about Sirens Curse?
Because Yeah, this was the first time I had been back out the park since, or even seen the park from afar, for that matter,
Yeah.
since closing day. Like I didn't do winter chill out. I didn't. There was a little media event for the topping off.
Yep.
I couldn't make any of that stuff. So this was just like it. I mean this in the best way possible. It looks so weird. It's like so. It's not off putting. It's just what it doesn't. It feels so out of place, but in a good way, I guess. It's just there. Like it is on top of the midway. Like when you are standing on the midway, it seems like the track, the tilt track and the first drop are like you could touch them. Like, and
Yeah.
once that construction wall comes down, man, it's going to be even more just ridiculous. Man, I already knew, I already had a feeling this ride's going to be nuts. But man, seeing it in person, it's just like, yeah, it is going to be nuts.
Yeah, I can't
I
wait.
can't even imagine what that ride's going to feel like.
If anybody's curious on how the tilt works and how safe it is and things like that, Cedar Point actually released a video today and was like, hey, check out this video. And it really is an in-depth video, like 2 minutes long, of like how everything works, how it gets all its clears, and how what needs to happen or whatever for it to seesaw, is what they were saying, how it goes tilts and seesaws
and also
back
release
and,
once it,
and releases the train and things like that. Another interesting tidbit is, we got to see the Iron Dragon queue line where the stage used to be and stuff.
that's
Let's
also
just
weird.
say I'm glad that they got rid of the stage, because that would have been a crazy bottleneck. And then
It's already going to be a bottleneck.
right, everyone's going to want to ride that coaster for sure. And then the gift shop, like I thought it was, like I saw pictures of Cedar Point posting it and stuff. I thought it was going to be a lot smaller. That's actually a pretty big.
That's a good size gift shop. Yeah.
Like I'm sure that'll be like a gift shop / maybe photo booth or something. But
Yeah. But still,
it's pretty solid. And it's not just like, cut and dry, just plopping a building out. They got some nice themed elements with the roof and things like that. But I'm over the moon. And speaking about over the moon, Evan, you got to see the brand new Happy Friar over there by Gemini,
awesome.
across from Gemini.
Is that going to be our segue into the food?
Yeah. What did you think about that?
Well, so I'll start with Happy Friar then. We didn't eat there because the only time we even walked past it, I think it was like still like 10 a.m. But we did mosey in there, and man, they did a phenomenal job. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And they touched up the menu a little bit. They, instead of buffalo sauce, now they have hot garlic parmesan instead of just you could get spicy or not spicy. I don't know if Carson, if it was you that said this or I saw it online, but it's perfect description. It feels like it came out of Kings Island. Like that building feels like International Street in a good way, in a really good way. Kind of sticks out in the rest of the area because you have like the very 1970s bathroom right across the way, and then this like nice like medieval themed building. But yeah, I really like what they did there. And boy, it's like every other food place in the park where you actually like get in a line and get your food and then check out instead of the walk-up stand it used to be. So that'll really help capacity. I always think of like Saturdays during Haunt where it's like the line for fries is all the way across the midway. Yes. So that'll be really helpful. But instead we still went and ate at Farmhouse because Farmhouse is amazing and I wanted to try. They got rid of the pot pie, but they have chicken dumpling soup now. And that was
amazing.
Really good. Yeah.
God, yeah.
Everything else on the menu, I think, is the same. I think.
I would assume that menu's like it's always like a rotating menu is what I kind of like. There's a couple things that
come in and out, but it was mostly the same as it's been. So I had the broccoli cheese casserole, the soup, and the specialty pasta. Everything was phenomenal. Like we said earlier, the food places were running so well, especially for opening day. Both sides of the queue were open, which I mean. Couple of years ago, that would never even happen.
Yeah, it was busy, and
really impressive. And then you guys ate at Grand Pavilion, had the fish and the new cheesy potato casserole.
Yes.
high marks on both of them, I assume.
Oh yeah, that was
it was decent.
It wasn't. I thought because like sometimes like with the potato casserole, literally it's like okay, it's okay and it's kind of bland, but no, that had a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well.
It was like
seasoned
steaming hot too. It looked like.
Right. Yeah. It definitely warmed me up. I'm not sure about Kyle. He was probably still a snowman, but
Yeah. I mean, you could serve like mediocre tasting food. If it's hot, it's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good. So I got the all-day dining plan. So that's how Carson was able to eat again. For anyone wondering, we had hunkered down in the Grand Pavilion because it was warm and it was inside and it was big. And Carson's like, I'm kind of hungry, and I was like, well, I mean, it's been like 2 hours since we ate. I can get another meal if you want. And I wasn't very hungry. He's like, yeah, let's go. So yeah, it was.
He listened to the episode that he missed because that's what Evan and I were talking about, was getting the all day dining plan for because you get a free drink and
Yeah, to be like fair, when I was a local to Cedar Point, I never ate at the park just because I wouldn't go long enough to justify eating. And that's kind of how I am down here too at our Florida parks. I mean, obviously Disney's sit-down restaurants are insane, the ones you have to get reservations for. So there are times where, we'll go and get dinner at like Disney Springs or one of the parks. But for the most part, I don't eat quick service food down here. But now that I travel to Cedar Point and I spend open to close, I usually get the all-day dining every time I go. It's such a great deal. I mean, it was like $34 for the day, but one platter at Farmhouse was like what, $21.99? Yeah,
not including a drink.
Yeah, so if you're gonna eat twice, it makes sense to do it. Yeah,
makes sense.
It's funny that to this day how desperate we were for Top Thrill to like move when we were standing in Grand Pavilion. We literally found a window facing Top Thrill and just stood there.
We did, yeah.
Stared for like
we ate our cheesy fiesta potatoes or whatever they were called.
And we also
we were like, and I was drinking my hot chocolate and we were just like, is it gonna go?
We also left.
And that was when it would literally was just kind of like a steady rain, and we're like, ugh.
Yeah, and we left the window in shifts too, so someone would always have eyes on Top Thrill too.
Man, that was about the nerdiest thing we've ever done, and we do a podcast. So,
hey, you know what? It's not as nerdy as me going on the off season, taking some binoculars and watching the freaking. True. So yeah, I think I take the nerd card for sure.
And then the last food thing was after we rode Top Thrill, we went and ate at Backbeat Barbecue. I believe this menu was exactly the same, but it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what everybody else got. I think most people got pulled pork, but my girlfriend and I both got the smoked jalapeno cheese sausage. I legitimately you'd be hard pressed to find a better smoked jalapeno cheese sausage.
Which is crazy.
So good.
I got chicken tenders and they were really good.
Which is crazy because like if you think about it, it's like, oh my gosh, like just take your mind off of it for just a sec. But you're like, holy crap, I can get a cheesy jalapeno sausage on the meal plan. It's not. Yeah. It's not an extra charge or things like. Everyone kind of takes Cedar Point's meal plan and their awesome good food way for granted. Like, oh my God.
Don't give Cedar Point any ideas about getting rid of it, please. Don't let them know what a steal it is.
Yeah.
God,
it's good.
I've said it before. I used to be, go there and ride as much as I can and, maybe choke down some chicken tenders. And now it's go there, ride a couple rides and eat.
Yeah, and plan your day and what you want to eat because there's many options.
I mean, we live an hour and a half away, and we're like, "Do you want to go get some Farmhouse?" And we go drive up Cedar Point, get some Farmhouse, ride Millennium, and go home, and we're totally okay with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the food, at least that we experience. I'm sure soon here we'll eat at the new Happy Friar and all that good stuff.
And then about the only other thing we did at the park was
ride Millennium.
Ride Millennium Force. And again, major credit to Cedar Point. We heard rumblings in the morning when we got there that, the ride isn't commissioned yet. It's not going to open today. The greeter out front was telling people, go do something else. It's not going to open today. All that. It was cycling like a champ all day. But the word on the street was it wasn't ready to open. and they opened for the day for the season at like what 7:10 p.m. when the park.
It was actually not to be like. Well, actually, I looked at my phone right when it opened. It was 7:21.
7:21
Nice.
on a day that the park
8 o'clock
closes.
closed.
Yeah, so they opened it for the season with 39 minutes left in the operating day. And Eagle Eye Evan over there spotted a.
Yeah, that was my like moment like you had with Top Thrill.
Yeah, Eagle Eye Evan.
Yeah, after Top Thrill opened, he like had rubbernecking on Millennium the whole entire
I
time.
love
Yeah.
Millennium.
So
Millennium will always
So
be my favorite.
he
I don't remember what the situation was, but Kyle and Justin, you guys split off, right? I don't know why. You were gonna go gift shopping.
You guys were going to go somewhere, and me and Justin were going to the front of the park because Hannah had just gotten to the park.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
when you guys all went up to the front of the park to greet Hannah, I was like, I haven't bought any Top Thrill 2 merch yet because I haven't been on the ride, but I just went on the ride. I want to go to the gift shop. And Justin's like, oh, I'll go with you. So then we left the gift shop and we started walking to the front of the park where we thought you all were. And then we finally made it to like past the arcade, and I was like, we haven't seen him yet. We would have seen him by now. And then that's when I got on the phone and I called Jared, and he's like, oh, we're over by Sirens Curse. So then we kind of turned around and went and met with you all. But you had seen an associate riding in the front row.
Yeah,
correct?
I just happened to look over, and it was going over the second hill, and there was a ride operator riding in the front seat, which is. If you know anything about like park opening procedures, that's the last thing. Like once you see a ride op on a ride, that means the ride's about to open. So I'm like, guys, we better get over there because it's gonna open. They wouldn't be putting a ride op on it. And sure enough, we got over there, and there was a couple dozen other people with the same idea. And we were on the third train out for the season?
Like we honestly walked over there, and it wasn't even like we had to wait outside the entrance. I mean, we got there, and within 30 seconds of us getting there, the greeter out front started the spiel of bags have to go in lockers and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then they opened the queue, and we were on the third train out of the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that made the whole day worth it for me because it's like, okay, I rode Top Thrill, I rode Millennium, I got my 2 meals. This is a good opening day. I'm happy.
And at that point in the day, Justin had not been on anything. He was not at
he
the
had
park.
Just shown up.
He was not at the park when we got in line for Top Thrill 2. Funny enough, he recorded our ride on Top Thrill 2. So that's a memory that
he knew none of us were answering, so he's like, they must be in line for Top Thrill 2.
But Justin got his customary 14 Bayside ride on Millennium Force, and as soon as we got off, he's like, well, guys, I'm good. I came to the park. I ate. I rode Millennium Force. I'm good. It was worth it for me.
He was good for the season at that point.
Can we talk about the elephant in the room? Millennium Force is back, baby. It's back to the original speed lift hill going all the way up. Like, holy crap! That's
back.
The
other thing. That's it, for those that don't know, they over the off season they replaced the lift up motor. The last couple of years, the old one had kind of been limping along. It was crawling up the lift hill by Millennium standards, and so they replaced the lift motor. It flies up the lift hill now.
Flying up it, yes.
It leaves the station quicker. It doesn't like kind of lag before the catch car really grabs it and goes. They moved control panels.
Brand new control panels and brand new controls, like computer system and everything, like all kinds of fancy buttons.
Obviously,
and they moved it to a better spot, so it's easier for the ride operators to get to it after they're done checking the seats, and thus dispatch faster.
Obviously, we rode the ride when it was only running 2 trains, and I haven't been to the park enough in recent years to know. But do we think it'll still kind of slow down when they're running 3 trains until that other one hits the brakes?
I think it's gonna be like the old Millennium where you're going up the lift hill at like we'll say half speed, and then once that block clears, you'll feel it kick into high.
It's like a 2.
I think when we rode it because it was only running 2 trains and the block was already cleared, we had high gear the whole way up.
Yeah.
But that was always one of my favorite hype things about Millennium. I guess is. You're going up the lift hill and it's like, oh my God, we're getting pretty high up here, especially as, a younger enthusiast or a first time rider or whatever. And it's like, and then it hits that higher gear and it's like, oh shit.
Right.
So that'll be really cool to have that back. And And she was still running really slow because it was like 45 degrees out and windy and misty.
Should we talk
But-
about the other elephant in
and then
in
it
the,
valleyed.
oopsies.
And then it valleyed the
the
next
oopsies.
day.
Yeah. So
The
Millennium Force valleyed. Whoever
On
doesn't
Sunday.
know, yes, on Sunday. Whoever there was no guests. We're just testing it. There was water dummies on it, but maybe not enough water dummies. Whatever. I know on Sunday it was extremely windy. It was
The fact
very
that you even
cold.
tried. The fact
It
that you
was
even tried says a
also-
lot.
Also rainy. So I mean, you've got the park, kudos to the park, because they're trying. They're really trying. They're like, everybody wants to ride Millennium. We're trying to get it, we're trying to get it tested, right? We're trying to get it open for the day. Well, unfortunately, it was either windy it was extremely windy, cold, rainy. You got all those conditions, and maybe there's a gust of wind. We don't know. Unfortunately, it didn't clear the last big airtime
The hill coming off of the island.
that you would go, and then you get your picture afterwards and stuff on the ride. It didn't clear that hill, and it valleyed, and stuff like this happens. I know everybody was like a keyword warrior, like, oh my gosh, like Cedar Point's losing their mind. Why are they doing this? It happens. It's safe. It's they just gotta either winch the train up that last hill, or they gotta painstakingly take the train apart.
Which
and
is, I
then-
think, what they did because Millennium was closed on Monday.
But yeah, so you got to take the train apart, truck it back over to where the transfer everything is, and put that train obviously back on the track. It's not the first time Millennium Force has valleyed. Maverick has valleyed, Iron Dragon has valleyed.
Mine Ride.
I mean,
Top Thrill 2.
right. So I mean, stuff like that. It happens, and it's
Gatekeeper.
okay. But I want to take a higher note and say kudos to the park for trying their damnedest to get that ride open for people so they could at least ride it, even though the weather was absolutely just bad. Just
a word
bad.
of advice to
So-
Cedar Point: next time y'all try in that weather, maybe fill the whole train with test dummies instead of just the
Right.
first like 4 rows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it
maybe
was
they
More
ran
than
out.
that, yeah.
They ran out. They
it
didn't
was
have
bad
enough.
weather. If I had not been there specifically to ride Top Throw 2, I don't even know if I would have gone.
Yeah.
Like it was that bad. I was talking to Ray on the phone when I was driving to the airport, and I was like, I wanted to invite you and bring you along because she has a gold pass too. I was like, and I felt bad for not inviting you, but something told me not to bring you. But I'm really glad I didn't, because you would not even have made it out of the car.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was there from open to close, 9 a.m. till 8 p.m. My girlfriend was there from about 3 p.m. till 7 p.m. We have a new dog at home, so she came up separately and left earlier than me. She achieved about 75% of what I achieved in her 3 hours versus my 12 hours. So I rode Millennium, Top Thrill, and ate 2 meals. She ate a meal, rode Top Thrill, and went home. And she was dry and not cold. So I think she was the winner for the day.
Yeah, she got the most
absolutely.
bang for her buck for sure.
But I did ride Millennium and she didn't. So haha.
There we go.
And
so-
you know what? I'm sure, since the park is going to be opening, tomorrow on Thursday, I'm sure they'll already have that train off of
Oh
the
yeah,
track
Millennium will
for
be open
Millennium.
tomorrow like it's nothing, and everything
Yeah,
will be
and-
all right. And Top
and-
Thrill is going to open at 10 a.m. sharp. I will be watching it because I'm a nerd, and we'll all be good.
So
Yeah.
I think that kind of wraps up opening day. I mean, does anyone have anything else they'd like to talk about?
Well, the weather this weekend's going to be a lot better, so this is basically opening weekend.
Opening weekend
Yeah.
part 2.
Yeah.
Last
Just-
weekend was Ohio State Day and like winter chill out extended.
Yeah.
This weekend's actually opening day.
Just shout out to the crews. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can say it enough, but they did a phenomenal job, and the Cedar Point and getting the crews up to speed, and it seemed like the staffing level was there. It didn't seem like, I mean, some stuff maybe was closed and whatever. It could have been weather related or whatever. The thing that kind of ticks me off, it's like, oh, well, that ride's closed over there. It's Windseeker, for instance. It's like, okay, I like Windseeker, yes, but it's like, all right, well, let's just wait like a few weeks and let them get staffed up, and then they'll open the Windseeker. But it's not like your trip's completely ruined because you
Right.
couldn't ride Windseeker. Like they're getting the big stuff that you want to hit open, and and the smaller stuff that I feel, yes, it would be nice if everything was running 100% full tilt, which was very, very close to running 100% full tilt. But if there's a few things that are closed, just give the park like a few weeks, and I'm sure that they'll get, either it wasn't certified, wasn't ready to go, whatever.
My rule is always, if you go before Memorial Day or you go after Labor Day, it's not going to be fully staffed. So plan accordingly. But yeah, we said it enough at the beginning, but I was so impressed with how ready to go, but the park was, because it just sucks that the weather had to ruin it. But it's cold, wet, pissed off, be damned. It was good to be back.
Well, it was good.
Shifting gears a little bit, I don't know what you two have planned for next week or whether or not we will have a show. But I will not be here. Work is sending me to Williamsburg, Virginia for the entire week. So I'm taking next week off, but when I come back, I will have 2 new for 2025 attractions to talk about with you all.
Yes.
Rapterra.
I think that'll be our next episode.
Yep.
That'll be good.
Yeah, we'll probably take next week off. This was a longer episode than what we thought, and there's not, unless I get 17 rollbacks and I need to record something and say something about it, then we'll take next week off for sure. But
hopefully,
shout out to all the listeners that definitely said hi to us on the midway that we're at the group photo or we're not, but it was really cool to be recognized. So if you see us in the parks, definitely say hi.
Hopefully the next time I'm back on the show, I will be able to talk to you all about Rapterra, the new for 2025 launch swing coaster at King's Dominion, and Big Bad Wolf, the B&M family invert at Busch Gardens Williamsburg.
Yes.
That'll be
very
fun.
excited about that.
And then maybe we'll have some news on maybe when Sirens Curse is going to open. Maybe.
This is just a guess. This is just a guess. But today's May 7th. By the next time we record, I'm going to bet that Sirens Curse will be testing by then.
Ooh, okay.
That's my guess. Maybe whether we know it or not, whether it's at 3 a.m. and nobody sees it. But I think
there's people staying at Breakers, I'm sure, unless they do it during the week when they're closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Everyone's gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, I got video of Sirens Curse going." Huh? Yeah. But
so that's just my guess. But yeah, very exciting. Excited to hear what you got to say next time, Kyle.
All right. Let's go ahead and close things out. Like we said, we will be taking next week off, but hopefully when we come back, I have 2 new rides to talk about. Thank you both for a great opening weekend and getting me on Top Thrill 2. That's all I got.
Yep. I'm just happy Kyle got on Top Thrill 2 finally. It was a great opening day just because of that. So
and make sure you share this podcast with all of your friends and rate us. And if you see us at the minute, say hi.
Thanks for tuning in to the Rundown on Fun. Don't forget to follow us on social media for all the latest updates from Six Flags Entertainment. And remember, always be kind to your ride operators. See you soon.